channel, y'all. Today we gonna be talking about Maury Travis, man. If you haven't heard of this guy, he was the notorious St. Louis Strangler. He lived in the outskirts of St. Louis, which we call Ferguson, Missouri. And this man, he grew up, kind of normal as a normal suburban teen, but somewhere along the line, he hit a mental illness spot that nobody knew he tapped into, and he started doing what he was doing. He was strangling, picking up prostitutes off the side of the road, strangling them, and torturing them in his basement. So, and all while he was living with he had a whole live-in girlfriend, and his mom visited him frequently, right? So a lot of people don't never noted this. So he grew up over there, and he worked. He had a pretty good stable job, and he had a criminal history. He had started, like I said, he started picking up those prostitutes along like East St. Louis and stuff like that, and he was going, just doing that. And a lot of, a few of his victims, this were some of his victims, you can tell they were kind of on drugs just by the pictures. But rest in peace, those ladies. They still didn't deserve the ultimate ending that they came to due to his hands. And he would pick those prostitutes up, take them to his home in Ferguson on Ford Avenue, which is crazy. The house is still there. When it didn't went anywhere. I drive past it quite often just to see if anybody has moved in yet. And I guess the mom, whoever owns it, I don't know if she sold it. When I look at the records on Zillow, it doesn't look like it's been sold or anything. And he started off, just doing that. There's, another more of his victims. Just a closer look at more of his victims. He killed close to 17 women, and he sounded like he enjoyed every minute of it. And he was getting away with it for quite some time until he ended up sending a letter to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch when they were still active. And that's where he messed up at, taunting detectives and taunting the reporters and everything. And how they got him is they went on eBay. I mean, they went on the maps, and they end up contacting the maps who accessed that site last from, to look up that address. And they came up with UUA or some UUE or something like that. And that's how they contacted them and asked them who used the website, and they said Maury Travis, and they gave them the IP address. So they went to the home in Ferguson, and it looked pretty normal upstairs. Like I said, he had a live-in girlfriend. Both of them were living there at the same time. But in the basement, it was a different story. They went down there, and they saw all this stuff. There was traces of blood everywhere, obvious traces of blood everywhere. I don't know if the girlfriend was participating in some of the things, because if he was on crack cocaine, smoking that with the victims before he killed them, then she had to be knowing something, that he was on something. Because usually you get a girlfriend that's down with what you do. And like I said, here's another list of his victims and everything. This is just some of them. He even reported that the letter that he sent them was a map of victim number 7 out of 17. So that's what he labeled it as. So they went and found these bodies and everything, but like I said, ultimately he ended up when about time they got to him and tried to question him, he wouldn't even talk. He never talked. And the next morning they found him hung in his cell. And they never got any information from him, no statement. He left a letter saying that it was all his mother's fault, his trauma. He never mentally recovered from it. That's the only thing that he left behind, was a letter. And if you look at some of the footage here, this just shows that.
Link him to more. The videotapes themselves are very graphic.
The videotapes, man, that's what it was.
I can't hear you what you're saying. Say it clear.
You want the master that pleases me to serve you. You are the master that pleases me to serve you.
With control.
Yeah, as you can see there, man, he was just having the time of his life, I guess, doing this, man.
This is first kill, number 1. First kill was 19 years old. Name, I don't know. First kill was nice.
As you can see there, man, he was just Like it sounded like he was just enjoying every minute of it, man, which is crazy, like I said. And, it all came to an end once they caught him. But then, you would think the nightmare would come to an end. And ultimately it never did because the mother, she still had the house up for rent. And this is what ended up happening ultimately.
I'm Mike Kalanos. All right, your jaw is going to hit the floor as this story unfolds. Here we have young woman at home. She's all comfy. She's watching TV, and she's watching a show about cold cases, serial killers. Then her house pops onto the screen. That's when the nightmare begins. With more, here's KMOV's Chris Negus. What'd you think when you found this place?
I loved it. Like, I love the house.
Katrina McGaw signed the lease without worry. Her Section 8 voucher covered $810 in rent. The landlord seemed nice. No worries at all. Until a family member told her to check out a cold case documentary about serial killers airing on the A&E network.
Oh my God.
Seriously, imagine if this happened to you.
And then there it is. The house that I'm living in
First words out of his mouth.
pops up, and it's like, it's real.
Whoa. Talk about sending chills down her spine. She was living in the same Ferguson house serial killer Maury Travis used as a torture chamber. The landlord even gave her the dining room table, the same one from the crime scene photos.
When she showed us the house, she was like, you guys can have this table if you want.
Those are the same chairs.
Yeah, same chairs, same table, everything.
But it's what happened downstairs that freaks her out. That's where Travis recorded some of his crimes. At one point, he sent the Post-Dispatch a map to identify victim number 17. Some of the victims were tied to this pole.
This whole basement was basically his torture chamber. And it's not okay.
It's just too much for McGaw to handle. So she called her landlord begging to get out of the lease, but the landlord wasn't sympathetic. Turns out the landlord is the suspect's mom.
She said, no, you've already signed the lease. You need to stay there until your lease is up.
So I called Travis's mother. She claims she told McGaw about the house's dark past. McGaw says that's not true. She would have remembered the people murdered in the basement part.
Do you feel like there should be a law that you should be told about something like
I
this?
definitely feel there should be a law. Like, there's no way that she should get away with thinking that it's okay not to tell people what happened in this house.
Although we couldn't get Travis's mom to budge, the St. Louis Housing Authority did. McGaw says she will be moving at the end of July, which can't come soon enough. So the St. Louis Housing Authority had to...
You see what happened, man. Yeah. They basically had to get St. Louis Housing Authority involved. At one point in one of the stories I seen, that she said her daughter was hearing crying voices and told her that, at one point by the pole, and you could see the scratches on the pole, man. This is just crazy. And it's crazy because the black population has gotten so crazy in Ferguson now. It's just everybody living, and there's a lot of crime over there. It's cool in some parts, but there's still a lot of crime. And the mom, it's more of a cursed ground. If you, like I said, if you go by there, it's just, it's the house is still standing. This is from March 2026. Every time I go by there, it's just nothing. Like I said, the house shouldn't be there, man. But this is just one of many serial murders that that were in St. Louis. Like I said, Travis never talked. He just hung himself. He never talked to detectives or anything. He told y'all what he did, basically. You seen it in the news clip. Yeah, man. Let me know what y'all think, though, man, because I know this situation's been touched up on, but there's a lot of, different just stories about it. So, yeah, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all be easy.